Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. You don't deserve it, Yaman, but you're getting a few days of bed rest. I am your captain, Mariah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have
Clyde. I would love to just keep going back in time and get younger and younger until I'm about 26. That'd work for me. And if you all ended up as babies, so be it. I'd leave you.
Am I back? Am I back?
You're back, yeah.
I'm your favorite ungrateful child. Pause to touch it.
Yes, tonight we are talking about the last two episodes of season 2 of the animated series, How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth, directed by Bill Reed, written by Russell Bates and David Wise, along with The Counterclock Incident, also directed by Bill Reed, written by John Culver, who's actually Fred Bronson. That was his pen name, and we'll get into that in a minute. But yes, this is the last two episodes of the animated series. It's been a trek, so to speak.
Through the stars.
Through those same animated stars over and over again. But I'm glad to have watched an entire series with y'all as we prepare to jump into Strange New Worlds next month. So excited. But first, Paul, can you remind folks where they can find links to things and get access to our Slack community?
Sure. If you go to StarTrekPod.co, you could subscribe to our podcast, like on Apple and Spotify and YouTube. And if you want, you can join our Patreon and get access to our amazing Slack community.
Indeed. There's watch longs, there's hangs, there's chit chats, article sharing, all kinds of stuff going on over there. Come hang out. And Clyde, if people are watching us live, how can they engage in the chat so that we can pay attention if they want us to see something they're writing about?
Very simple. I've been working on my mind reading. So if you just think it, I'll know what it is, and then I'll say no. Seriously.
It's been a mind meld. Yeah.
Mind meld. Just capital P, capital O, capital T, capital POD pod in the chat, and we'll take a look at your musings, your theories, your critiques, your excitable phrases, you name it. POD in the chat, and we'll take a look at it.
Indeed. Okay. Also, before we jump into some hot freaks, I wanted to play a little quiz here. So one of these episodes that we watched is the only Emmy award-winning episode of Star Trek, specifically for writing. I will say specifically for writing. This was for Outstanding Entertainment in a Children's Series. Which episode do you think it was?
Clyde, why don't you go first?
I'm gonna go with the first of the two episodes that we watched today.
The Kuka Claw. Yeah.
Yes.
The Serpent's Tooth. That was my guess too. So I'm gonna go.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm gonna go with like Lieutenant Walking Bear.
Okay. So before Mariah tells us the answer, Paul, why did you choose that episode?
I think that probably has kind of like the most like diversity, and not that was a real hot topic in
1974.
but it would be educational in a way that the counterclockwise incident would not be.
I agree. My thought was there was some historical information that was brought up. It was
kind of made me
learning. Think of it was almost learning.
That's
it
right.
had a certain Stargate, SG-1 type of kind
we
of
love
feel
a pyramid in sci-fi automatically means Stargate.
the idea was
Stargate here, Clyde. This is Star Trek.
I got it. My reasoning for that was you have this idea of these gods that cultures revered were actually aliens visiting Earth and setting up this mythology.
I think they still talk about that on historical, like the History Channel's aliens content. I think that's still a common conspiracy theory.
So that's why I went with it.
Right. Do you have an answer? Do you have a guess?
I mean, I know the answer, so it's
Oh.
not really fair for me to guess. But you are both correct. It is episode 5. It won the Outstanding Entertainment Children's Series, and it was written by Russell Bates primarily, who is actually a member of the Kiowa tribe. He's from
Okay.
Nice. So, any chance you know who it beat out? Because I'm thinking must have been a bunch of schmucks.
That would be an interesting fact. And while I am looking that up, we can prepare for some. I'm moving, I'm grooving, I'm getting to the place we're gonna do some hot freaks. I'll look that up while y'all talk about your hot freaks about a serpent's tooth.
Paul, what were you thinking about Lieutenant Walking Bear?
Well, I mean, it's always one of those things when, first of all, I thought the episode was okay. Like, I think some people really thought it was a little more bonkers than I thought. I was like, oh, okay, well, it's a ship that looks like a dragon, and then like, but but the animated series is so psychedelic anyway. I just went with it. I'm always really like, there's a certain style diversity that it always makes me like laugh and smile and like cringe at the same time. Like, for example, like you the moment that Kirk says Lieutenant Walking Bear, I go, well, that's important.
Right.
That's right. Like, the only time, once again, the standards are unfair. This is like the 74. This is like 50 years ago, 50 plus years ago. So like, so at the time, cutting edge. Like, but for me, like, I'm like, oh, it's so points out the other in a way that makes me kind of, I have mixed feelings. I'm conflicted. Like, it's like, people might not know, but I am not white. I am Thai.
I didn't know this. What? No. I'm out. That's just I'm gone later. No,
that's right. That's right. And so
By the way, if you didn't know, I am also not white. I am black.
Oh, okay. Well,
I thought were we dropping like
dropping lore,
things that people didn't know.
Diversity credit. Anyway, so I've gone through 50 years of various iterations of explaining to people how I'm Thai, and I got very different reactions. Like when I was 10, it was like almost like King of the Hill. Are you Chinese? Are you Japanese? I'm Thai. Weird, like confused face. So are you Chinese? Are you Japanese? And that was in the 80s. And like, in the 90s and the early aughts, what I got was like, oh, like, where are you from? I go, I was born here, but my parents are from Thailand. And I get, oh, I love Thai food, which is great. Like there is one, there's a touch point that people are trying to make connection. But at the same time, like, it's kind of weird when, like, I can guess what the response is always going to be. Like I am more than my Pad Thai. Not much more, but I am more than
Here's something people could try. Oh, that's fascinating. Could you tell me more? Like,
but here, like in the mid-aughts, what happens? Like, people try to start talking Thai to me.
Interesting.
And
because everyone started going to Thailand for their midlife crises.
And like, Thai is a tonal language, so invariably it is like I am having to do some, like, code breaking to figure out what they're saying, but it's always some version of like, can you show me where the bathroom is, please? So I went from Thai food to the bathroom within 10 years. Don't be sorry. I mean, I don't look at this as a negative thing. I look at this as like, oh, this is the progress of I don't want to say assimilation, but like, just integration. So Walking Bear was really interesting to me because there's no reason that they need to be, native. Native American. Like there's absolutely no reason aside from the fact that because the pyramids are not in North America.
Nope.
But at the same time, that's also might be the point where like, oh well, it could have been someone like from I don't know, Tajikistan. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah. Overall,
oh, go ahead, Mariah.
Oh, I was going to just say, like, my hot freak for the episode was just I found it to be one of the more enjoyable, and I think because it felt like a plot that I could watch in a regular Star Trek episode.
Sure. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, I was like, oh, it's like an omnipotent, very Q-like being, and in this particular instance, we're going to play into some mythology, right? And like Star Trek loves to play with mythology. There's Shakespeare quotes in this episode. It hit a lot of like standard points of a Star Trek episode. And I think for me, it was fun to see how they used like Earth mythology to then like bring it into a sci-fi space. And so I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's still an episode of the animated series. And so it's like things are moving at a pace that is not the same pace that I'm used to. But I do think this is one of the episodes where making use of it being animated was used to its fullest extent. Like all of the different environmental changes were really cool. And like when you're thinking about like, oh, what are the things that we can do in animation that we couldn't do in real life, especially in 1975? Like this was it. You know what I mean? So
sure.
Yeah.
I thought that this was one of the more coherent plots. It wasn't anything novel, but it felt like the plot was a little bit more coherent. I still almost dozed off in the middle of it. But that's just because it's been a long day. I immediately looked at like when they introduced Walking Bear, and I was thinking, okay, we've got a lieutenant that's running the helm we've never seen before. What's happening here? Like, I think what would have been really great, and again, to me, this kind of goes to, I didn't feel like they had this season arc, like this architecture, like the story design. What would have been fantastic if Walking Bear was at the helm for the entire season, and then you sprung this on it,
or even just a handful of episodes.
Sure, right? Yeah.
But yeah, it's like when you watch Law and Order, right? And as soon as like a big celebrity comes on, you're like, oh, you're either the lawyer or you're the person who did the crime. You know what I mean? Like there's only two extra roles that you get here. So, so going back to our trivia, any guesses as to what else was in the nominated category in 1975 for outstanding entertainment?
Kung Fooey.
No, that's not.
No.
For kids?
Yeah.
74. No, I got nothing. My cartooning started in the 80s.
It was Captain Kangaroo and the Pink Panther Show.
That's the Pink Panther Show, I guess. Okay.
Those are it was only 3 that year. The year prior, which Star Trek was nominated, also included Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, Captain Kangaroo, and Zoom.
Zoom. I don't know what Zoom is.
And Zoom won that year. Oh my gosh, you never watched Zoom on PBS? Zoom. Make your heart go boom, boom, boom.
I mean, Captain Kangaroo was kind of a staple.
I never watched Captain Kangaroo, but I knew it existed.
I don't think Captain Kangaroo Captain Kangaroo finally won in 1981. It tied with Once Upon a Classic. There's 2 winners. And then it also won in 82.
Yeah, I don't think that's the golden age of Saturday morning cartoons.
That's what I was thinking, Paul. I was like, man, these Saturday morning cartoons were not putting out A-list material. I mean, now
it's a lot of PBS stuff. You know, it's like Once Upon a Classic. They've got a lot of Once Upon a Classic. Kids Are People Too. Captain Kangaroo, the Smurfs.
See, there
you go.
Once the Smurfs start coming in, like, the Smurfs leads to Gummy Bears.
And then
to
76 is really when it hits, y'all. Then you got
76.
Schoolhouse Rock, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and Sesame Street.
See, That now we're talking about like, see, that's what happened. They looked over like, "Ooh, we can dominate for the next decade and a half if we wanted to. We're just going to come in."
Yeah.
The call.
And then something called Animals, Animals, Animals on ABC really cleans up for a few years in the late 70s. And then, yeah, the 80s, it's just like pretty straight up Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, 30 minutes, I guess. Is that like a version of 60 Minutes for kids? I don't know.
Won't
yeah.
you be my neighbor?
My neighbor. Pee-wee's Playhouse comes in the 80s. Reading Rainbow, 1989. Here we go.
There we go.
Jim Henson's Mother Goose Story Hour. Lamb Chops Play Along.
Welcome to like
Barney and Friends. Now we're just going. I'm just going through it. I'm like, oh, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? We're in the 90s now. So these are like my children's shows. Bill Nye the Science Guy.
No,
all starting off with like, sharper than the serpent's tooth.
Really kicking it off. I mean, that is interesting. Is like the very first ever Outstanding Entertainment Children's Series Emmys started in 1974, and it included Star Trek. So when the Emmys started giving awards for kids content, Star Trek was included.
Yeah. So all thanks to
Did they ask a kid? Did they ask a kid if they were watching? I mean, that's just. I mean, like, I can't criticize. I think in the early 80s, one of my favorite TV shows on Saturday mornings was something called Turbo Teen, that had a teen boy who, when he got a little too hot, he turned into a Corvette. So
yep. I remember that barely.
Yeah, I mean, when I say it out loud, it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but best believe I was waking up and making sure that I had my teeth brushed and my cereal eaten so I could watch some Voltron and then some Turbo Teen, maybe a little Dungeons and Dragons and anything by Hanna-Barbera. So
like there was a time when, theme song was a very important part of my cartoon watching thing.
Facts.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what got me,
Yeah, I could probably still sing along to the entirety of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song.
Okay.
If needed.
Like
I think I just watched the documentary on the Power Rangers. That was a little bit interesting, but yes.
Oh yeah, no, it's really messed up what they did to those actors. Like, you don't know that as a kid.
You don't.
You don't know. But anyway, back to How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth. If you did not watch the episode, essentially, the ship is on a mission to go follow a probe, but the probe is actually this otherworldly being known as Kukulkan. I had to get the phonetic there. Kukulkan. Who they're like very loosely, I'd say, basing on some dragon imagery that you've seen, especially in like Central and South American architectures. But they try to link the myth to many cultures in the episode: the Egyptians, the Aztecs, the Mayans, I think even like Chinese dragons, they pin it to as well. Asia in general. They
you
love
might not
to
realize
just throw
this, but
consonants.
I am Asian.
Wild facts being dropped on the pod.
Mind blown.
But he seems to be really upset because he's like, I tried to give y'all ways to live in your society, but then you became very violent. And then like essentially our crew has to be like, hey, like we aren't anymore. So can you like stop trying to kill us? And they have to solve a series of puzzles in order to do that. And then Ku, I'm just going to call him Ku, he has a menagerie of weird little creatures in his ship as well that he's like essentially Matrix styled, plugged into habitats, which is kind of wild.
I like the touch point. The thing I have appreciated about the animated series is there's some things that they were doing in 1974 that they're still doing today. So when you see things like the menagerie, or as we'll talk about in the next episode, it's like, oh, we've screwed up our lives and our genetics and we're dying. The pattern buffer in the transporter.
Always.
Like like there's just some things that I'm like, oh man, we're still doing the same things here 50 years later. That I kind of was liking, but then I stopped to go, this menagerie is just weird.
It was so weird. I did love the weird energy cat though. That was so funny to me. They're like, we gotta release the energy cat.
It's a Thundercat.
It was a
Thundercats are
Thundercat.
go.
Also, very good cartoon show. Thank you, Paul. Great job.
Yes. But ultimately the crew saves the day and talks him into not wanting to destroy humanity because they've proven themselves to be, I don't know what the main message point of the episode really was, except that you have to evolve in order to defeat your enemies, maybe.
I don't know. Like, if I had to go with it, like, it is actually pretty complicated, complex. Not complicated, because not the moral, but like the idea of like, here is this God figure. I'm gonna give you a homework assignment that you're kind of ill-equipped to really do, and when I come back, if you haven't done it right, I'm gonna kill you. That there is like that's thematic.
Is this the threat of if you don't do your homework?
Well, I mean, Paul, to take it a step further, what tripped me up was that why he was upset. He's upset because he gave primitive Earth people a puzzle, and he's like, well, you never figured it out, so I hate you. And I'm thinking,
what's so funny to me, and like it's like, oh, I wish they had gone like a few extra steps, because and I know it's not possible in 1974, but to me, I'm just like, all the civilizations that they mark that this guy came down to are like specifically are non-white civilizations, and so essentially Euro-colonialism is the reason that humanity is doomed, which is also true. So like, if we really break it down, the episode is like, colonialism and imperialism is the downfall of humanity.
Oh, that's not true though. White people save the day.
Well, speaking for white people, I'm going to just say no.
I'm just saying, like, there is Kirk and Scotty, it's all pretty, it's there.
Well, I think the thing that I was looking at was really how hard the problem he gave, because to your point, when you look at those civilizations, you think of where the Mayans are located, where Egypt is, where China is, and if you gave them the head that needs to turn around, like, this is dispersed societies who aren't communicating with each other, and you're waiting for them to figure out that their piece connects to other pieces and then collectively come together to solve the puzzle. Yeah, that was never gonna happen.
Well, like, the way I see it is like, imagine I go to the jungle and try to teach some chimpanzees how to make a V8 engine, and then I go away knowing that if they don't do it, I'm gonna slaughter them. That's
I'm with you. Yes.
Who's the jerk there? So in that way, but to be, to be also fair, and as far as a deeper writing level, like, it's a commentary on religion sometimes, a bit, where like, you're given these impossible tasks by your deity. There's no religion that goes like, it's gonna be easy. Like, it's kind of like, you have to, like, follow these set of rules, but you're
there's always work to be done, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And your whole design is counter to what my rules are, or it's like, just be so amazingly calm that you, like, can airbend. And so, like, but so that's not criticism of religion. That's just going like, oh, it is, in fact, it is in our tradition to have,
to have
God.
God, like, yes, to have a deity that is asking more. There's an expectation.
The impossible.
Right.
But Paul, for the record, Paul, water tribe. Just saying.
Your water?
Water tribe.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
I've never watched Avatar.
It's fantastic. If you like animation, I do like pretty animation. Strong.
Maybe I'll add it to
pretty
the list.
good.
The other fun fact I have is this episode is part inspiration for the Lower Decks episode, Mining the Mayans' Mines.
Okay.
It was one of the hallucinations that one of the crew members has as they're running around with those like, remember those like glowy rocks that made everyone hallucinate their fears?
Sure.
That was one of them.
Cool.
Because Lower Decks loves pulling references from the animated series in the best way possible.
I actually miss Lower Decks. If I
miss it so much.
Like, why did you say actually? Why is it? You can say I miss Lower Decks.
We don't talk about it. We talk about a lot of the other series. We don't talk about it as much, but I miss Lower Decks. I like those characters.
Yeah, no, like
I know. I saw Jack Quaid post something on Instagram the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to hear a Boimler scream, a new one." Got to go back. Okay. Anything else to really say about episode 5 before we move on to episode and our finale, the counter clock incident?
I will say this: when the ship first showed up, before it turned into a Chinese,
I thought it was such a cool design.
I was like, this is the first time that they've had a ship that actually felt like it was designed for kids, like a Saturday morning like TV show.
It did look like a toy.
Like, oh. Yeah, I was like, now we're talking. And then it morphed into a Chinese dragon. And I was like,
I actually don't think it was a Chinese. I think it was an Aztec,
Yeah.
Oh, an Aztec. Serpent. Oh, the flying serpent. Okay. Well, that was the first thought. I was like, oh, now we've again have moved beyond children. And this is more for me.
I mean, children also like dragons, though. Dinosaurs, dragons.
True. But that one seemed like something that was going to give my children nightmares. And
I always have to remember I was the weird horror kid.
I mean, I had a horror phase there for a little bit. You know, if you want to call Nightmare on Elm Street horror.
I mean, that's pretty good horror.
Can't be horror.
You know, it falls in the bucket. Okay, time for next episode, episode 6. We have the counter clock incident. It is time for yet again another set of hot
freaks.
You know, in that hot freight, we often talk about the deep V on Riker.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got Tasha Yar and Deanna Troi in that scene too.
I also picked that specifically because the writer of this episode, Fred Bronson, also wrote Menage a Troi.
Well, Menage a Troi is not that episode though, but
I know, but it's you know, it's the one video we have with Troy in it.
Yeah, you know, it's no, fair. No, I like Menage a Troi, like, you know, sexual assault aside.
He also wrote The Game for Next Gen.
The game's okay.
That's the one with the
Ashley Judd's in there.
Yes,
crazy.
Star Trek has the best like cameos for my money. The best cameos,
like Gabrielle Union as a Klingon.
Kirstie Alley as a Vulcan.
Yeah.
What did Padma Lakshmi play? I can't remember.
She was on Enterprise, right? I think she was just like an alien, model alien. The Rock
classic.
The
Voyager.
Rock.
He was
in
Voyager.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that.
Wrestling with 7 of 9. This episode was not as fun for me as episode 5, I will say. Yep. But I thought again there was those notes of classic Trek, you know, using the transporters as a pattern buffer to restore them from being small children back to adults. I did like the timey-wiminess of it. The backward speak at the beginning was kind of fun, although I feel like I feel like Uhura would have realized it's English backwards faster than a computer would.
I mean, she's supposed to be the communication and linguist expert, so
to me that was like a weird thing for, like, I was expecting her to be like, it's just backwards, blip, like fixed it, you know. But yeah,
she can't be good at everything, okay?
Yes, she can, because she's Uhura and she is good at everything. I was going to say something else and now I can't remember, so someone else can go.
Yeah, my hot freak. I thought it was very bread and butter, slightly boring. Mm-hmm. Like not because I imagine if I saw it in 74, it'd be really cool. Like the black and white stars, the space.
Yeah, the black and white stars were cool.
and like all that stuff I think would be really, really interesting. Oh my god, you could go to another universe through a nova, which is not so different than uh the Disney movie The Black Hole. So like but Black Hole was like in 80 something, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, so like once again, Star Trek ahead of its time. uh for a TV show for kids. And with that all being said, like it reminded me of that shrinking one where the honey,
Oh yeah.
where I was going like, okay,
We've done this ticking clock where they can't control the controls anymore, right?
yeah, and and it's going to it's going to resolve in a way that I'm not going to get any. There's no stakes in it really, aside from like, so
Yeah. Clyde, I'll let you do your hot freak, and then I have a question.
I kept thinking, okay, what would be my thought about this episode if I hadn't seen so much sci-fi and this was the first time it was introduced? Because when you think about things like going back in time, that was pretty cool, but I've seen the Benjamin
Back
Button,
to the Future.
right? I've seen I've seen this stuff. If this was the first time I saw the pattern buffer, right? Like there's some things here that I'm thinking, oh, would I have been more entertained or more shocked if I hadn't seen all of these things done over and over and over and over and over again? So that was one thought I had. And then I also agreed with what Choopy says. Choopy says her hot freak is the Aprils were nuts for not wanting to keep some youth. Like, what are you saying? I thought that was an interesting decision, right? Like you have this opportunity. It's not costing you anything, right? And it's like, this is usually when you're given this option, there's a pretty hefty price. Like
vampires pay no price.
So you would think they have to stay that age forever. But like,
this is like they just reversed. It's like you could just be like, hey, like we can still retire and we can just have a longer retirement together, like you don't have to change your milestone or whatever.
Spoken like people who have not been married for a quarter of a century.
He is ready to be like, I gotta get out of this through death.
Well, why him? Actually, it could be her.
She was the one who wanted to stay young.
Oh well, that's a good reason.
I actually went back and had to watch it again because I was like, wait, what happens to the rest of the crew? Like you can stay young, but they get to, you're not forcing them to stay children. It's not a thing where you go back in time and you have to relive your life. Like all the things that normally happen, like you just get to be young.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sign me up for that. Like with the wisdom that I have now, I'm like, oh man, if I go back to my 20s, there's so much stuff I'm not eating. I'm gonna make sure I work out every day. Like I'm gonna get more sleep.
You were misunderstanding the gift of being re-young, because if you get to re-young, now you can go back and eat poorly again and do all the stuff.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna end up in the same situation I am.
You're gonna die anyway. Now,
I'm going back.
Unless you're gonna vampire, which I highly advocate. One day I want to see a Star Trek vampire episode.
Yeah, so that's kind of my hot freak. Is like I watched it. It was kind of cool to see some of these things, and I was thinking about what would it be the first time around. But also, I disagree with their decision to not go back and be young.
Yeah, I was also like, y'all are crazy. The other thing that I had a really hard time like pandering and trying to figure out was when they interact with the other society where they start old and then die as babies. I'm like, what does birth look like? That was my main question.
Well, you've seen Benjamin Button, right?
I mean, I don't know if I've ever watched the whole thing the whole way through.
Oh, well, they meet in the middle. That's the answer.
What do you mean they meet in the middle?
That's just the tagline of like Kate Blanchett and
right. Do you birth a tiny old person?
Well, in the movie, what you do is you have this baby is born and it's an old raisin looking baby, and then the baby gets bigger, like a kid gets bigger, kind of like how old people like I would
slowly
know.
shrink, right? But
Yeah,
like not that small.
well, not unless you're in reverse universe. I don't know.
I was just very like, do they hatch? Are they like in
Hmm.
like little cocoons? Like what's the reproductive process?
Yeah, no, it's
Oh, and I was gonna say, Paul, we do have vampires in Star Trek. We have salt vampires.
that's that salt vampire. I guess, but like I don't think you can get turned into a salt vampire.
There we go.
Oh
I was
yeah.
looking for it. Salt vampire. That's pretty important. Salt is technically a food, and I was just thinking about we're about to end this podcast without talking about food, and that would not work for our food.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the end at all, Clyde.
Okay, I'm just saying. Like I was getting worried there. I was like, we've not talked about food once. So salt, that counts.
It's called, yeah, a salt vampire. Like like able to the illusion of being any person you want to be, or can and I don't know, that doesn't sound nearly as cool as like living forever, or even like
being sparkly.
That's right. Well, like I'm more like Lost Boys vampires.
Yeah, I also I to fully honest, I've never watched a Twilight movie nor read the books. I am just aware of them, the zeitgeist of things.
But
I don't think I have either, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it's a thing. People really like it.
I like Kristen Stewart.
Nope. That would be the reason why I haven't.
Oh, you didn't? Did you see Love Lies Bleeding though? It's so good.
No, I gotta be honest. If she's in it, I'm probably not watching it.
Who are you not watching?
Kristen Stewart.
Oh,
she's very compelling outside of the clips I've seen of her in Twilight.
I think I've seen the clips of her in Twilight and was like, I'm out.
Check yeah, no, you got to watch her in something else.
Okay. I agree with Kern. Angel is the best vampire show.
I don't know.
I like True Blood, I think.
Did you ever see, there was a show in the 80s, like, was it called Dark Knight or Night Justice?
Oh.
Night Court?
No, do you know what I'm talking about, right, guys?
Yeah, I do.
That wait. What We Do in the Shadows is the best vampire media.
There you go.
Yeah.
Paul, what you're talking about, it was like a vampire vigilante.
Forever Night.
Like a cop, yeah. Like
yeah.
Forever Night in the
Forever Night. That sounds right.
That's what it
is. That's actually that was dark.
It's like a buddy cop vampire show.
Like I think he was like the kind of like the vampire consultant, like the Lucifer, except a vampire, and she was a cop. And I think what happened at the season finale, I didn't get to see it, but so he had this thing where he'd try to turn people sometimes, and they would die, and then he'd feel guilty, and so at the very end, his friend cop, she was dying, and he tried to turn her, and she died, and he goes to his sire and goes like, I just can't go on, and he gets killed.
Oh wow, that's dark.
Yeah, isn't it? It's Forever Night with a K.
Yeah,
crazy.
This. I'm looking at the cast. It is the strangest cast.
I will say the new Interview with the Vampire series is also really good.
Is it?
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
I've not seen it.
It's good.
But yeah, but it's interesting because Forever Night, I believe, was on UPN, same as
that shows like that would track.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is connected to Trek, everyone. I'm not being tangential.
This poster, though, y'all, you got to Google this poster. It is good.
The Forever Night, the green one?
Yeah, that green with the red text. It's incredible.
Yeah. For anyone who, especially if you're in the US, if you did not live through the UPN timeline,
man,
you're missing out on. It's hard to even explain what those shows were about, but it felt like there was a time where you had this network that if you came up to them and said, hey, I have an idea for a show, they were like, sure, put it on.
Oh, there was Time Tracks. Do you remember Time Tracks?
Yes.
They also had good rerun, because that's where I would watch. It would be MASH, and then Voyager was like my dinner time vibes.
This how B and I got together. It was at midnight they show Voyager, and our date transition from swing dancing to watching Voyager at her place. Without that moment, we don't meet. Like I
Crazy.
it's a temporal nexus, an anchor point.
An anchor
Oh
point.
yeah, they had homeboys in outer space.
Oh, that I don't remember.
Incredible.
Time track 7 days. A lot of time travel back then. Time traveling was very big in the UPN era.
I feel like after Back to the Future, everyone was just trying to like grab that zeitgeist,
I mean, they left a huge hole by not doing the sequel for like over a decade.
I think I thought what they did is like, oh, we're a new network. Let's do a bunch of shows that we can reuse sets over and over and over again.
I mean, it's like, it was.
You own Time Tracks? Like, do you watch that? Do you watch that?
I own the DVD box set for Time Tracks.
Nice.
Do you watch it often? I love it.
That's so funny. Yeah. Wow.
No, that was an interesting time period for sure. But they had there's some things that have come out classic, like Moesha was on UPN.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they had some things that like, oh man, there were a lot of shows, but they had some that really hit and was like, oh, this is and spin-offs and everything. So there were some good shows back then.
I think Babylon 5 was on there.
You say what?
Babylon 5.
Yep.
Roswell.
Was it Buffy and Veronica Mars also on UPN?
Yep. Buffy for sure. Veronica Mars, yeah.
For some of it, I think Buffy was on. Was it CW before, and then like the last seasons, like 6 and 7, were on UPN, I believe.
Well, I think it might be reversed. I think UPN, and then UPN became the CW.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the list now. You had Loveboat, The Next Wave. Oh man,
yeah, that didn't work out.
Oh man, Clueless, the TV show. The Girlfriends was on there, and that was huge.
Yeah, crazy. Also, like, a lot of the beginnings of unscripted shows. America's Next Top Model, Brittany and Kevin.
Wow.
Ooh. Interesting.
Iron Chef,
USA. Yep.
WWE SmackDown.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean,
all right. Also, they had X-Men. Anyway, it was a good time over there. Now that we've gone down memory lane twice of kids programming and then UPN programming, the last fun fact to leave you with is, so the reason that Fred Bronson used a pen name, he used the name John Culver for his writing credit, is because he was the publicist for NBC at the time, and thought it would look improper to get a screen credit while being the publicist for the network.
Oh, well, cool. What would your pen name be, Mariah?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know why I would have a pen name.
Well, I don't know, because you have a pen pal, or because you're part of the rebellion.
Oh, if I'm part of the rebellion, I usually just use the MYRH, like the herb myrrh, as like a standalone. Yeah.
From now
my
on,
pen name. I know what my pen name would be. My pen name would be Paul Satachet.
Ah, damn it! I was gonna go Clyde Hayes myself. Oh,
Clyde beat you to it.
Oh man,
he beat you to it. This is also the episode that established that Enterprise first captain was Robert April. So, for our canon.
I don't know, like
tracking.
if I can, there are a lot of things that just don't track in this episode as far as like canon, like the first Doctor on a warp capable vessel, that's been undone and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but it's okay. It's okay.
Any final thoughts on the entirety of the animated series?
Like, I was thinking about this, and I was going like, oh, I think this is what non-Trekkies think
Trek is.
And if this, I was going like, oh, like the things that I like are like this. You can see the seeds of it in the animated version, but it's so like crazy and like inaccessible and ultimately boring for if you're not already invested. So I imagine if you're a non-Trek person, and all of a sudden someone goes, "Hey, you should need to watch this episode. You need to watch Menage a Trois." And Troy, I'm sorry, Menage a Troy, and you go like, "Oh,
Like,
so
where are you going, Paul?
I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying," and then you watch it and you go like, "So these little like big-eared gnomes like capture these people, and you're okay with this? It put them into sexual slavery?
Yeah.
This is okay?" I go, "No, you're missing the point. It was a different time."
I mean, this is why I think it was, so when Clyde and I did that Comic-Con panel on like how to get your friends into Star Trek, it was a lot of like, here are the episodes that are actually going to engage people. So I think, there is that challenge of when you do approach something with like a huge, catalog of stuff. Like last week, y'all were saying you really liked Andor, and I haven't jumped into it yet, but I do feel that similar thing of like, oh, I don't know the rules and the canon and all the insidery things of Star Wars like I do a Star Trek. So I always feel like, oh, am I going to miss out on parts of this, because of that?
And the answer is yes.
But yeah, and ultimately, yeah.
I think what this show has told me is that the things I love most about Star Trek is the character-driven nature of the show. Like, yes, it's sci-fi, it's set in space, and there's all these adventures. But really what it is it's these characters, and you're going along the ride of their life. And you get to really care about them, right? Like, I remember when we first started the podcast, it was all about like, who's your favorite character? And so we always, the three of us have their theories that you feel really drawn to, and you're like, this is my series, these are the characters. What we didn't get in the animated series was that, and I think that was a miss. And I think sometimes they're like, oh well, kids just want the episodic jump in. And when I look at my own kids, they, just like us, are into these stories and feeling attached to the characters, right? Like, almost as though they're real characters and they could meet them someday. Like, they love those characters. And that this series just didn't deliver on that. I think that was the biggest disconnect. But in the flip side, it really kind of showed me that's what I love about Trek. I am a huge Geordie LaForge fan, right? To see his character go from, token
right, like
cast
you want
away,
to
right?
root for people, you want to hate, you want to have big emotions about the choices that the people on screen are making. Yeah.
Yes. You get upset when you think Data might die or somebody's persecuting Data. You have this visceral reaction to it, right? Like, we talk about the episodes where they're like, well, you're just a robot. And we're like, oh, like, you get mad at the villains. Like, you want that, and that's not just because the villain, the Badmirals are good at what they do. It's because they're attacking this character that you feel strongly about. I didn't get that, and the weird thing about it was you're building off these characters that actually have a lot of history and dialogue and development. But for kids, like, the idea is, if this is for kids, you almost have to reintroduce Kirk, Spock, and Scotty and Bones to them the way that you did for us.
Yeah.
And I'll say one of my favorite ways that was done was in the Kelvin verse. Like, I will never forget, them being on the ship and, Bones and Kirk kind of meeting for the first time. Like, there's a way to redo it. They just didn't do it in the animated series. And I think for me, that was the big miss.
Paul.
I mean, I think for me, I'm trying to put myself in my younger self shoes, and I watched all of the anime series. I didn't remember all of it, but and I remember just absorbing it.
Yeah, I was gonna go ahead.
And so in that way, I go, all the things that I care about now as an adult, I don't think I cared about as a kid, because everything was fresh, everything was new, and the idea that, like, oh, it just looked really cool, so you're just absorbing stuff. Like, I use this anecdote a lot. Like, my niece, who is not a Star Trek person, and was like kind of screen deprived as a young kid, was able to watch like Star Trek: The Motion Picture at 6,
Mm.
and there's an interminably long sequence where the Enterprise is in V'ger, and it's just like the Enterprise in like room after room after room after room after room, and I go ugh, or something like that, and she goes to me, "You don't like this?" And I go, "Well, the movie's just very deliberately paced, kind of thing." And she looks at me and looks at the TV screen and looks at me and goes, "I like deliberate."
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. Is like, I can remember watching, Bill Nye the Science. Maybe that was a bit older, but like things like, do you remember Gargoyles? That series?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
that also
remember-
started Marina Sirtis and Jonathan
Frakes.
Frakes. Yes.
Yes. And so, like, can I remember glimpses of the artwork, what the characters sounded like, what the theme song is? 100%. Could I tell you any plot of any episode from that moment in my childhood now? Absolutely not. So it's like, I don't know if it is just a thing that has to like hit you when it hits you, and then it just like fades as it fades, and the things you remember are the things you remember.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I look at the shows that my children watch, right? And I have a 7-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is I want to sit down and watch it with them because it's clever and it's witty, and
Mm-hmm.
like he's kind of past the point of watching Bluey, but he still made a Bluey reference this afternoon, right? Like it stays with you. And then there's other stuff where I'm thinking I'm going to smash myself in the head with a hammer if I have to listen to this sound of these voices one more time. So I think you're right, Mariah. Like when you're a kid, you just watch stuff. Like you're drawn to it for whatever reason that you're drawn to it. Some of it's great, some of it's not great. But
yeah, like my parents, my grandma, and I'm sure I've told this story in the pod before. They talk about how when I was a kid, I would love watching Night of the Living Dead, like the original, like black and white, and I would like giggle, and I thought the zombies were just so funny. I could not, I had to rewatch the movie as an adult because I'm like, apparently I loved this movie as a child, don't remember the plot at all, rewatched it, and I was like, wow, this is intense. But as a kid, none of that plot, and the metaphor or anything, I'm just like, oh, it's people making silly, goofy noises. Like, yeah, so childhoods. All right, y'all, anything else?
I think I'm good. I think like maybe we take a break, hey?
Yeah, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back for Strange New Worlds. I'm very excited to get back to some live action Star Trek, and hopefully we'll get an announcement of when Academy is going to come out so we don't have as long of a hiatus. But until then, hang out with us in the Slack. You can visit us at StarTrekPod.co. Thank you to Karen, who helps run our Blue Sky account, and thank you to everyone who hangs out with us in the Patreon. We appreciate you all so much. And until next time, y'all, live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Matashta.